there's definitely, especially in the wave of social media, people all over the place have voices, have accounts and channels, and are can easily ascribe, mental health things or even trauma for one thing for another. And so I would love to just hear your thoughts and help on just really giving a definition and distinction, perhaps between the trauma that you are dealing with people and clients in the workspace and the human trafficking, but just people who are struggling with rejection, abandonment, all these different things. What would you say, or how would you define trauma to be? And then what are some misconceptions that you hear about trauma online compared to maybe what it actually is in your work?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so trauma can be in different aspects. It could be little t trauma, big T trauma, especially that the person has experience in their lives and over their childhood. And even trauma can happen even in the womb, because you're experiencing all the mama's feelings while your mom is pregnant with you,
Mm,
right? So trauma does not just start when the baby is born, it starts in the womb. And it's also because the mom, they could be a high stress level or going through a difficult time if it affects the baby. So the trauma, it could be in different aspects. It's when a situation or crisis happens to a person that really shifts their mindset, shift their identity, and also like trauma can be physical, emotionally, or mentally and spiritually as well. So with the people that I've seen, and especially with my experience in counseling, the most that I've seen is because they have not processed their trauma experiences well in a healthy way. So they just build up over time. And until they decide, okay, I'm going to ask for help, I'm going to go get counseling, go open to the Lord and that healing experience, because if not, you're going to operate in that survivor mode. You're going to operate in that fight and flight mode because that's what trauma does. It it leads you to that fight and flight mode, or freeze in that capacity to just stay and know how, and that's how triggers happen. That's how triggers is like when something irritates you or creates anxiety or depression, and you just like, but why that triggered me? Why when this person said this, like just got annoyed, I just got annoyed and got irritated and got upset and angry. Why is that? And because it is out of a trauma response that was not processed well in your life. Because as a child, you probably didn't have a safe place to really share your emotions with your parents, and your parents said, shut up, to stop crying, like shut up, stop crying. You're internalizing those emotions because you don't have a safe place. Because if not, if I cry, if I continue crying, I'm gonna get hit. I'm gonna get smacked in the face. So as you grow up, then you learn how to just internalize your emotions without you even able to have that safe place to share and grieve. Or you have experienced a sexual abuse and all of a sudden you shared it and nobody believed you. So in that case, okay, I'm not going to share anything because people are not going to believe me, and then I just struggle internally. So until that moment that you create that, you find a person that you are able to share and not feel judged, and also invite the Lord in the middle of that processing, because a lot of people are grieving without even knowing they're grieving. They're grieving of their loss of innocence. Grieving does not mean just when a person dies. No, grieving is like when a relationship ends suddenly. Betrayal happens that you didn't even expect. You grieve because you're disappointed, you're discouraged, you are feeling like, man, like I trusted in this person and then all of a sudden they turn my back. So grief and ending a relationship, a toxic relationship, even though you know it's bad for you, it was a bad person for you to be with, but you're still grieving because of all the hopes and dreams and all of the dreams that you created for this person, having children, a family, and sustainable home. You're still grieving. So I noticed out of my experience that with the working with trauma is like people don't have a safe place to grieve, and also to learn how to forgive. Unforgiveness is key. Like it creates sickness, it creates mental health. When there's a root of unforgiveness, it can go to the extreme. So that's why it's important to forgive those that have hurt you, and also forgiving yourself for the choices that you have made in the past to help you heal from the inside out.
Yeah, I you are that's amazing. Okay, that's some real gems right there because people don't know that they're actually grieving. And
Hmm.
because they don't know they're actually grieving, it's almost a lane of confusion and stagnance. And so then
Hmm.
sounds like this is what creates the perpetual repetitive behaviors, going from one person to the next,
Right.
going from one event to the next, all in efforts of trying to silence what's so loud inwardly. But because we don't know what to do with it, we just keep moving. And so I love that aspect. So here's my next question then. How or what tips would you give to help others really grieve through that processes? Because it sounds like a lot of this, a lot of the trauma that you just kind of, in a way, defined and explained, all starts with incidents. Like this was an event that happened, and
Hmm.
the event is what wounded you. And the event that wounded you because it went unprocessed became a pattern that created other areas of struggles, toxic cycles, and things of that sort in your life. So when we acknowledge that an incident has occurred, that then reveals, okay, maybe there's something to this that's traumatic in my life. What do you give or how do you help others grieve through that?
Yeah, so the first thing is really the key is to acknowledge it, the first step, because if you don't acknowledge that you're struggling with this, right? You're not, there's not going to be no change. You're just going to continue to normalize it like it was nothing. It was nothing. No, you're saying that because out of your protection, because you don't want to feel. When you say, I don't care, that also is saying you're actually putting a guard on how God wants to really heal you and go deep. He wants to go deeper with you. So the process is acknowledging it, facing it like, yes, I have this problem. It's like having an addiction. You're having an alcohol addiction, pornography addiction, masturbation addiction. Okay, acknowledging it and just saying, okay, I need help. Because you cannot force anyone that does not want the help. They have to go through their own journey. They have to go through their own until they say, okay, I hit rock bottom. I'm ready. Okay, so we're about to do this together. Acknowledging it, and as well, naming what was the incidents that you were not able to grieve. Also, writing it down, and as well, who are these people? Who was it? It was it your close friend or your family, your mom, your dad, your siblings, your cousins? What was this incident? Okay, name it, and then at the same time one of the activities that I love to do is writing a forgiveness letter to each person that has you have hold a grudge, you have an old anger. Um, Not really send it to them, but it's just out of for you and between you and the Lord. And then read it out loud because there is power in your voice. And as well, when you declare that out of your mouth, you're showing the enemy you don't have a foothold in this area no more. And I'm just going to close the door right here because you have access on this area for decades.
You better say that. Hmm.
So I'm going to speak it out loud and declare it and release it because forgiveness, I just want to emphasize forgiveness is not saying it was okay what happened to you. Because people say, like, if I forgive this person, it's just saying I was okay, that I was in agreement with what they did to me. And it's like, no, it's not. It actually is for you. Forgiveness is for you. Even if you never will receive a forgiveness from that person, it's for you. It's for your healing journey, is to release them. It's not a baggage for you to carry. That's the Lord. Release it at the cross. And then going through that journey with them and creating that safe space of love, not being feeling judged, breaking the shame, breaking the guilt, uncovering those roots, and and having that nurturing environment that they probably never experienced before because that never feels safe in a relationship.
Y-
So, and it's that walking with that journey the same way that how the Lord walked with me through my inner healing and deliverance process. I had to really be open, allow the Lord to go in all the rooms, not just some areas, but all the rooms that were cluttered. Okay. Um, and really allow Him to just do a whole detox and take out some junk that needed to be taken out. Uh, to be able to walk a life of freedom and womanhood and embracing my femininity and leading others into that as well.
Yeah, I love that. And it sounds like just listening to you speak, there's some areas where, of course, throughout this entire healing process, this is why your spiritual foundation is important. It's actually required when it comes to healing fully,
Yeah.
because it sounds like, especially with that forgiveness piece, that seems it's no doubt extremely difficult to really, in some ways, grasp it, because in some ways it's scandalous in a lot of
Mhm.
ways. But it it seems like there's some people who possibly have been on the other ends of those things and have been waiting for apologies, who have been waiting
Yes.
for certain
Right.
things like that. And so it comes to an understanding that you may not ever get that apology. You may not ever get that
Never.
conversation. You may not ever understand the why. But this is where the spiritual foundation piece comes in,
Hmm.
because this is what gives you the foundation to still exercise that forgiveness and still give yourself the permission to release the other person of their debt in order to live your life. Do
Hmm.
I have that kind of correct
Yeah.
there?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it reminds me of Proverbs 3, verse 5 through 6. I bring this up to clients myself in the space of relationships, overcoming those breakups and things of that sort.
Hmm.
Because there's that idea or ideation of why, right? We're always trying to figure out the why, trying to fill in those gaps to at least give us some kind of closure to move on, and convincing ourselves that if we understood the why, then I would be able to get some rest at night. And Proverbs 3, verse 5 through 6 is so powerful. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge Him. He will direct your paths. And that understanding piece could also fit in the word why. Lean not
Hmm.
on your own why. And there's some answers that we clam for that I've told others, it doesn't change what happened. Even though this is the answer you may get, we aren't entitled to the answer, and it doesn't change what happened. We still have to step forward in releasing this individual from that debt that they may owe us, or we feel they owe us, in order to move forward and live.